What's going on, guys? It's Salvaje and I'm bringing you guys a Fortnite in-depth weapon review on the Swan. Let's get right into it. And yes, you can use the code Salvaje to support me as part of the Support a Creator program. It would help me out a lot, honestly, since I'm a very small YouTuber that basically makes no money from YouTube. Alright, so the Swan, part of the Rat Rot set, and it was introduced in Four Nightmares Llamas, and chances are that you got one from a Four Nightmares Llamas and you're wondering, should I level up this weapon? Well, the reality is, if you use this weapon to the best of its abilities, it can be very effective. But if you don't know how to use this weapon, yeah, you're just gonna have a really shitty weapon on your hands. The Swan basically specializes, and it's just really good at just crowd control. If there's a lot of weak husk around you, the Swan is just going to do a perfect job. However, when it comes down to my weapon reviews, you know, the more I review weapons, the more I realize that the Save the World developers add different weapons into Save the World that all have, I guess you could say, their job, right? We have weapons like the Bundle Bust that basically deletes any husk or miss monster that gets in its way. And then we have weapons like the Siege Breaker or the Scar for you Battle Royale players. Long story short, the Siege Breaker is just a really good all-around assault rifle, right? You can use it when you want to defend an objective, and you can also use it when you're playing Destroy the Encampment or Rescue the Survivors. Well, the Swan, it's basically a weapon that you want to use when you're going on the offense, alright? When you're going to be doing those blue glow siphons, when you're going to be camping in the enemy spawn when you're defending an objective, when you're doing Destroy the Encampments, and when you're doing Rescue the Survivors, the Swan can actually be a pretty good viable weapon. And the reason for that is because the Swan specifically specializes at the close ranges and the medium ranges, about 4 to 5 tiles long, if of course you stand still while shooting it, which is something that you can manage to do in Fortnite Save the World because you're not really being shot at by things that do massive damage, like in Battle Royale, for example. And that's something that I want to point out about the Swan, right? Like, it's not really a Siege Breaker. It's not a weapon that is going to be great at the medium ranges. It's not a Wraith. It's not a weapon that's going to be great at the long ranges. But if you are on the offense with this weapon, honestly, this weapon is very reliable. And I do believe it is worth your schematic XP if you want a weapon to do a lot of Destroy the Encampments, for example, or Rescue the Survivors, or basically just missions where you're going to be playing, of course, very aggressively and you're not going to be sitting back at a point. However, I just want to say, if you are going to be sitting back at a point, and if you are going to be getting yourself in a lot of medium range engagements with the Swan, when it comes down to attacking high health targets, you're going to be held back. And that's why I want to get into the cons of the Swan, right? For the most part, this thing does basically little to no damage at within a 5 tile range. At a 5 tile range, you can do some okay damage and some reliable damage to, again, weak health targets, like for example, just basic husks that are running at you. But if you're shooting this thing from 5 tiles long, and you're shooting a Husky Husk that's 5 tiles away, like, it's literally not going to do any damage. Now, on top of all that, if you move at the medium ranges at 5 to 4 tiles with this weapon, the weapon recoil and the spread is just going to sort of make you miss out on a lot of bullets. So in some ways, yeah, you might not want to use this weapon if you don't really want to be crafting bullets. I mean, when it comes down to me, hey, I got 3,000 nuts and bolts and I got another 1,000 in storage. I'm sure some of you guys have like 10,000 nuts and bolts. The point is, if you are very strict where your medium ammo go, you're honestly better off using a Gravedigger. And that's another thing that I want to point out when it comes down to the Swan, right? For the most part, if you have a Gravedigger, if you have a Siege Breaker, you don't really need to level up this weapon up, alright? This is just quite honestly a good weapon that does what it's supposed to do. And it does it very well if you have it perked up correctly. Now, let me just point something out, right? When it comes down on paper, like, the Swan is really good. Let's take a look at the screenshot, right? So this is my Swan compared to my full legendary perks Shadow Shard Wraith, and as you guys can see, the Swan basically has more damage than the Wraith. However, if we want to maximize that damage, we need to be playing within a 3 tile range with the Swan, and if we're playing within 4 to 5 tiles long, we of course want to be standing still so that we can of course get the most out of our damage. But of course, obviously, the Wraith at a 5 tile range is going to be more effective than the Swan. But look, the point that I'm trying to make is you need to be using this weapon to its strength, and if you do that, it's going to be a reliable weapon, which is why I want to talk about recommended perks, okay? In my opinion, if you want a really good all-around Swan build, you need to be putting 3 damage perks on it and a magazine size perk on it. Okay, it's gonna make the Swan just basically really good. And on top of all that, the reason why you want 3 damage perks and a magazine size perk on it, it's because the 3 damage perks are basically going to sort of cover for the weaknesses that the Swan has. Since it has 3 damage perks, you're basically, you know, if you are fighting Huswolf in a 4-tile range and you're moving around, guess what? You're going to be doing some pretty consistent damage because of those damage perks. The damage perks are covering for the Swan's weaknesses. Now, if you want a Swan to use at the close quarter engagements to obliterate mist monsters, like blasters, like takers, like smashers, I absolutely 100% recommend critical rating and double critical damage with magazine size, because I believe you're going to have a 100 bullet magazine size when you put the magazine size on legendary. And on top of all that, since you have a huge magazine size, you're going to get a lot of chances at doing some nice critical damage with the Swan that is of course going to completely melt mist monsters. Okay, but yeah, with that said, now we move on forward to the star rating. I'm going to give the Swan a 4 out of 5 stars because it's just consistent at doing its job. All right, the job that the weapon was made for, you know, attacking, being on the offensive, getting in the close range, getting in the husk faces, doing some nice crowd control. The weapon is just really good at it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course, leave a like if you enjoyed, and please support me as part of the Support a Creator program. See you guys in the next one. Peace.